Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. This month I am doing a 3-part series called Habits in the Wild. So the reason I wanted to do this series is because most of us really do not fail our habits because we don't care. We fail because our habits are designed for perfect conditions, and that is not where we live. We live in real life where we are stressed and things are a little bit hectic sometimes, and kids don't feel good, or we don't feel good, or we are just super stressed, or our mental bandwidth is at a breaking point. Okay, maybe we're tired, maybe our hormones are acting weird, like maybe our periods are all over the place because we're perimenopausal, like who knows. But it's probably more often than not that we are in that spot in our real life, which I'm calling the wild, and not in our captivity where things are perfect, right? Where we have this perfect plan and we get to meal prep every day, and we get to go to the gym for an hour every day, and we just have Pinterest worthy, perfectly balanced nutritional meals where we sit as a family and sing kumbaya, whatever it is. Like, that's just not real, okay? So if your movement plan only works when your schedule is calm, that is not a plan. That is fantasy. That is captivity. And that is just not where we are. So if you have ever thought, I was doing so well and then life happened, then this episode is for you. And maybe last week's and maybe next week's too. But I want to talk about movement specifically. So movement in the wild. So this is not gym perfect. We are not in like our beautiful color coded matching workout outfit. We are not in our peak motivation. This is like where movement actually just survives exhaustion, chaos, and life, and low energy. Okay. More importantly, I want this movement I want to teach you how to do this so you don't feel like you've failed when you can't do it right. Okay? So I want to be really clear about this before we get into like the heart of the episode, but I really want you to think about what your rules are around exercise, and then so not only like your consistency of exercise, the timing of exercise, like do I need to be workout clothes, do I need to sweat, like all of those things. But I want this episode to help you release the guilt about not doing it right. So whatever right means to you. Okay, so right might mean to you, like when you start thinking about these rules, these unwritten rules in your brain about exercise, that like I have to have tennis shoes on and I have to do 30 minutes and I have to sweat and my heart rate has to be XYZ or whatever. So I want you in this episode to be able to understand that those are made up rules and we don't have to follow them if we don't want to. And those rules do not need to be for every workout. So I want you to be able to release the guilt about not doing it right. And I want when we do that, we can protect our identity as someone who moves, right? Because we talked about identity and like that really being the cornerstone to how we're doing our habits for 2026. And so if we're becoming a person who moves routinely or exercises routinely, then I want you to understand how to do that in the wild so we can protect that identity. I don't want one life messy day where we don't do it right to then chip away at that new identity that we're building. So that is really the purpose of this episode. I want to reframe movement in a way where we release the rules so we can release the guilt so we can protect that precious new identity that we are building. So I want you to remember that these movement rules are really built for captivity, and we live in the wild. And so we need to make some different rules or allowable exchanges. I love my exercise exchange, right? Allowable exchanges that let all of those thoughts we have about exercise work in real life. So captivity movement would look something like, I can only exercise when I have an hour because I need a full hour because my heart rate has to be whatever and I have to be sweaty. So I need to have time and energy and either a gym or good outside conditions. I have to have my my workout shoes. I need to have my gym bag. I need to not be running late because I need X amount of time before I pick up the kids. Those are all captivity movement. Okay. Wild movement is like I do my OTMs, my opportunities to move. Like, it's okay if I forgot my gym bag, I can still go walk outside no matter what I'm wearing. Or I can walk up and down the stairs one extra time before I leave. Or just, I can adapt. Okay. So I can keep my consistency, my continuity, even when my intensity is different. Okay. So remember, March in the membership is all about consistency over intensity. Movement is a perfect example of that. So we, in the wild, our movement anchor is something. Okay. It's an opportunity to move. It does not need to be our super intense, whatever our scripted, patterned rule for exercise needs to be. So movement is not something that that has to be done a certain way. It's something we protect with flexibility. Okay? So that is where I want you to go with this. But I really think it would be interesting if you take a minute, maybe just let, our brain likes to think in the background. Start thinking about what these pre-written rules around exercise are for you. Because if we can identify them, then it's easier to adapt them. Or just ask ourselves if we still want to keep that rule. Like, does that matter? Right? So, when I had rules about exercise when I was 20, that rule, it probably is not applicable to me at 50. Okay? So, and I actually would love for you to be mindful of whether or not we have rules around how long I need to exercise in it, like this bartering for food. I know I used to do that. It was very unhealthy, right? I could only eat a certain thing if I went and ran a certain amount of miles. So we don't like that. So when I'm teaching you about your movement anchor and being consistent, this really is where those OTMs, those opportunities to move, come in. I need to try and remember the name of that book because it was great. And if I can remember, I will put it in the show notes for you where I heard this idea. And then, if you are a child of the Northeast in my age group, you remember an ATM, an automatic teller machine where you would get your money. And so I like to think of these OTMs like a reverse ATM. Like I'm putting this movement in, and then what I get out is this new identity as someone who consistently moves. So OTMs, again, are opportunities to move. So this is any movement that you would do that you wouldn't do by sitting on the couch or sitting in your office chair or just sitting or laying. Okay. If you're not sitting or laying, we have an opportunity to move. So it can be anything. It all counts. So, and I want you to listen to your brain too, because this is what I hear my clients say. Well, it counts a little. Or it counts, but, okay, it just counts. There's no but, there's no a little, there's not, it counts, but like I still had to do my workout. You don't have to do anything. These are for those crazy days. We just want some opportunity to move. So we are not lowering the bar. This counts. It is protecting our habit identity. So this is not an I was lazy. I want there to be no guilt or shame. Every day is not going to leave us with perfect conditions for that perfect exercise workout rule that we have buried deep in our brain there, okay? So the fastest way to lose the habit is really not skipping a workout. It's deciding I didn't do it perfect, so it doesn't count, okay? I want you to hear that. Your habit that you are building with the identity of I am a person who exercises or I am a person that moves, that does not get broken by skipping a workout. It gets broken by this crap mindset that I didn't do it perfect, so it doesn't count. So if nothing else changes, I want you to know that every piece of movement counts. It adds up. There's multiple studies that say it's okay to add it up. It does not need to be done all at one time. So it is not lowering the bar to say that it counts. It's protecting that habit identity. And that is really the cornerstone of these habits, right? So OTMs will keep our identity alive, okay? So if you think of that identity as like a baby bird, right? And so we're like our fledgling baby bird, here we are in March, right? We're just helping that identity to grow, and we want it to be super strong by December. We need to keep feeding the little bird, and the little bird just needs a little bit, okay? The little bird does not need a 1 hour every day at the gym, perfect with perfect heart rates and perfect workout clothes. It doesn't need that. It just needs a little bit, okay? So we want to keep that identity alive. We want to keep that habit warm, right? Just a little tiny bit to keep that movement connected to our body, connected to our nervous system, connected to everything, especially when the days are hard, because what an achievement. And then instead of saying it doesn't count, be like, oh my gosh, look what I did, even when it was really hard. I am a person that moves. Okay? It is so good to protect your identity by doing these little OTMs, as long as you don't have the crappy mindset of it doesn't count because it wasn't perfect. So again, if nothing else, all movement counts. That's all I want you to hear, and I want you to keep saying it until your brain believes it. So let's talk about why movement is even one of our anchors and why it matters. Even low-level movement will support better sleep. And sleep, as we know, and cortisol and appetite, all those things are connected. It will improve your digestion, and maybe if you are someone, your regularity, let's say, okay? A little constipated, a little movement helps, okay? It's the first thing we make patients do when they're feeling constipated at the hospital, get up and move around, okay? It will help your mood regulation. Tons of studies proves it, okay? It'll help your libido. It will help stabilize your blood sugar. It helps increase your good cholesterol. It helps your joint health, okay? And long-term fat loss, okay? Just like we talked about protein and muscle, and like that muscle will help you sustain and maintain your fat loss. This is it, movement, okay? And that movement shapes your body, all right? There's a big misconception that like exercise is what helps us lose weight, and nutrition is what helps us lose weight. So you can't out-exercise a bad diet is 100% true. Your nutrition is really what is going to have the biggest effect on your fat loss, but your movement and your exercise are what change your shape, okay? And the shape of your body and the muscle you have on it can aesthetically make a big difference. So if your weight doesn't change at all and you start exercising, people are going to say that they see a difference, right? Because it's changing your body shape. So long-term fat loss, maintenance, and that, like, let's be honest, when we feel like our body's looking better, our libido goes up too, okay? So if you are navigating GLP-1s or perimenopause or chronic stress, any of those things, okay, this movement is important because your body responds better to frequency over force. So again, consistency, not intensity. That's all we're teaching in the membership March. Consistency, not intensity. We don't have to have these like spikes of punishment followed by nothing, okay? We're stopping the shame spiral around not doing exercise right. That is what I want you to hear, because in the wild, we cannot always do it perfectly. So let's talk about some OTMs in the wild, okay? Some real life examples. You know, I like to be tactical and give you lots of ideas. So I feel like this goes back to like Weight Watchers in the 80s too. Like, park your car farther away. That's true, okay? What about, we all have earbuds, or I'm probably one of the only people that uses wired headphones still, but put your headphones in and walk while you talk, all right? One of my good friends in the neighborhood does this all the time. I love it. He's constantly out walking. He's on the phone, like making deals. I love it. Okay? Maybe we do some squats while our coffee brews. Maybe we just do some hip circles. Forget squat. Like, just like loosen up your joints a little bit while you're waiting for your coffee or for your tea. Okay? Stretch your calves. Do a couple of calf raises at the kitchen counter. Do a lap around the house before you sit down. Okay? Bring the groceries in one bag at a time. I'm the worst at this. I try and bring so many in at once. But if I brought one at a time, look at that amazing opportunity to move. Okay? Take the stairs once. If you are working on the second floor and you do not have an orthopedic injury that prevents you from walking upstairs, I strongly encourage you to make it a rule an internal rule that you no longer take the elevator. There's going to be resistance because it's different and it's change. But if you could do one flight of stairs, if that was your baseline, like I did nothing else today, but I walked up the stairs to my office, amazing, right? You would be so proud of yourself. You'd be building that trust and you would be proving to yourself that you're a person who moves. So maybe take the stairs. Maybe stand up and sit down 10 times during a show, right? We're kind of, I love not having commercials, don't get me wrong, but there used to be like an exercise during the commercials, but we can't really do that anymore. So maybe between shows, maybe don't skip intro, okay? You guys know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. Don't skip intro. Maybe stand up, sit down while the intro's going on, or take a lap around the house while the intro's on. Okay, so when we're binging, that's at least like once an hour, we can get up and do something. Just move around a little bit. Okay, none of those require motivation. They do require a little bit of like change in our normal routine, but they're not hard. We don't have to change our clothes for any of those things. We don't need an app. We don't need headphones. We don't need like anything. We're not going to sweat, okay? And I want you just to give those permission, like give yourself permission that those count. Those absolutely 100% count as movement. So I think those are some like real life tactical things. And I would love to know if you implement one. So I want you to tag me on Instagram or email me, anything you want. I want to know if you implemented one of these little movement deposits, these OTMs for life in the wild. Because I would just really, I think they're fun. And I would love to know if you think they're fun and if you try it and if it works. So I know for me, I am no longer allowed to take the elevator at work. When I had the flu, I took the elevator, or actually that's not even true. Because when I had the flu, I didn't go to work because you shouldn't go to work when you're sick. But I hurt my back really bad. I did take the elevator twice. So, but I have not taken the elevator this year again. So I'm back on it. Take the stairs. It's only one flight. I can do that. So if we can't do our workout, if life is wild and we cannot do our prescribed rule-based workout, I want you to do your minimum movement deposit, whatever that looks like for you. And the reason we want to do that, and the reason we want that to be the rule, is because it really does protect this continuity, and our identity, and it protects the habit. And if you think like that little fledgling identity, we need to feed it, and we just have to feed it a tiny bit. So I want you to do a little bit of movement. All right. If you like this episode, you're probably going to love what we're doing inside the membership. I'm really excited. I've been wanting to do this membership for a couple of years now. And so it's Lifestyle Support Monthly. And it's not medical care, but it is real life lifestyle support. You know, I'm certified in lifestyle medicine. And these changes make such a big difference in our overall health and our health span and being healthy for as long as we possibly can. And so if you are navigating GLP-1s or hormone shifts or energy issues, or life is just really stressful, or your kids like make it hard to keep a perfect routine. If it is hard to maintain your habits in captivity, then please come join us in that membership. You get 30 days free, and I would love to see you in there. I think you will really get a lot out of it. So March, again, that's when you're listening to this podcast. It's all about consistency over intensity. So I would love you to try the membership. I'm going to make sure it's in the show notes for you. And I will see you next week. We have one more in our Habit in the Wild series. And so we're going to talk about mindset next week. And I can't wait to talk to you about it. All right. Until then, bye.